This summer I have not just one, but 2 weddings to go to, and I need something to wear, so I'm gonna make something. I really quite like this shirt that I'm wearing right now, and I want something similar but as a dress. So I've looked around for patterns online and I found this, which is the folkwear town and country dress. So I've gone ahead, bought the pattern and printed it out. Now you might wonder, do you really have nothing to wear, or are you just saying that? I do in fact have 2 at least somewhat wedding appropriate adjacent dresses that I could potentially wear, but the truth is I don't have a lot of clothes. I've known for a long time that fast fashion really isn't good for anyone or the planet. So since my early 20s or so, I really haven't bought a lot of clothes. A couple years ago switched to buying mostly secondhand, which I think is a good start, but I also don't go secondhand shopping that often. But now that I have a sewing machine and I'm starting to explore making my own clothes, I really want to make a dress and wear to at least one of these weddings, maybe both of them, who cares? So that's what we're gonna do today. I should probably show you the fabric I'm going to make the dress out of. I got this dark blue cotton with colorful outlines of birds because I wanted something with some kind of pattern or print for the visual interest, and I think this works really well for a wedding because I feel like the birds give it a really happy, celebratory vibe. Also, because I've learned from past mistakes, I'm gonna make a mock-up, at least of the bodice of the dress, because I want to make sure that everything actually fits before I cut into my nice fabric. Alright, I've got all the pieces, so we're almost ready to go. Bodice back, and of course, bodice front. Bodice back facing, bodice front facing, collar, pocket, very important, an optional bow that you can add. I don't think I will, but I still wanted to just prepare the pattern piece. And then a very big piece that you cannot see, but it's right here for the skirt. I do think I will need to slightly lengthen the bodice pieces. There's a line for it here. I saw in the pattern that it's designed for someone who's slightly shorter than me, so I think I just need to add about 2 centimeters. I've got all my cutout pattern pieces over here, and I've got the instructions over here. I don't usually print out the instructions, but I thought it would be easier for this. So first step, I need the bodice front and bodice back, which I have here and here. Not making a mess over there at all. And it says, sew together along wearer's right side seam only. Okay, matching notch 1, which is the one on the side. That makes sense. All right, step 1, done. Press seam allowances open. I will do that on the proper dress. It's not that complicated, but I struggle imagining things without touching them. Stitch side seam in wearer's right side only, up front and back, matching notch 2, notch, where's the notch? I'm gonna have to be so careful with the actual fabric to do it all the right way around. But with this test run, I'm just trying to do it at all. So let's start there. I remember my French teacher in high school used to say, well, she said in German, but she said, you have to bake small bread rolls. Meaning, have small goals, start small. So doing it at all is my small bread roll. I don't speak French, by the way. Didn't work out. This goes here, this goes there. Clip. Do you think I did it the wrong way around? It's a bit annoying. I definitely did it wrong. Huh. Oh well. That's why I'm practicing. I almost just sewed that to completely the wrong place. So it's good to double check when things seem off. All right, what's next? So here's the mock-up bodice piece. There are two issues I need to address. First, I thought I should lengthen the bodice because according to the pattern, it should have turned out too short for me. But it's now actually maybe a bit too long because the waist doesn't land at my actual waist. The second issue is very obvious and it's the gaping at the back. I thought I should decrease the seam allowances a little to give myself more room to breathe, but clearly I was wrong and now it's way too big. So my takeaway here is to just stick with the original seam allowances. Alright, gather round, let me tell you a little story. When I was at uni doing my bachelor's, there was a teacher there who I had heard made all her clothes herself. She sewed them all, and I was really impressed by that. She always looked really well put together, very professional, and I thought I could never. I thought, I don't have a sewing machine, I don't know the first thing about sewing, I don't know anything about clothes or fashion or anything like that. I could never, but it would be so cool if I could. Sadly, we live in a world where I cannot do this, maybe in some alternate reality. And I don't really know why I thought that. I think it was just, hey, I don't have a sewing machine and I don't know how to sew. But turns out you can learn how to sew and you can buy a sewing machine. I feel like a grandma getting ready to tell you a bedtime story. That's legit life goals, I'm not even kidding. Like, heal your inner child, yes, but also embrace your inner grandma. That's my motto, I think. Boop. Anyway, that was more than 10 years ago, and I bought a sewing machine last year. Moral of the story, I guess, is I should have done it much sooner. I could have been sewing my own clothes for 10 years, and that would be really cool. Before I bought my sewing machine, I was actually watching sewing videos on YouTube, specifically the Stitchery. I had found her channel and I was watching it and I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm just watching it for entertainment. She seems cool, I just like watching her videos, but I'm not actually interested in sewing myself. What a lie. I then found some other channels like Cinegrams, and I saw other people sewing their own clothes and was reminded of how cool I thought that was. And finally was ready to be like, actually, let me just buy a sewing machine and try this for myself. And I know that a sewing machine is quite an investment, but I was pretty sure that I would like it because I had had this thought in the back of my mind kind of swirling around for 10 years that I might like sewing and making my own clothes, even though I still admittedly know nothing about fashion, but maybe we can change that. So let's go and put together the dress.
Much later.
Alright, at this point it has been over a week, probably closer to 2 weeks since I've worked on any of this at all because I got sick. Nothing bad, just a little summer cold, but I was kind of out of commission for a little while. Now I'm back and I've forgotten everything, so that's great. The one thing I did manage to do before I got sick was to cut out all the fabric pieces. I've got them over here, so they're ready to go. So time for this guy to enter the scene. The sewing machine. All right, I turned the camera off to sew together the first few parts because I found it a bit difficult to get back into the pattern, and I'm really nervous about making mistakes. I really want this to work out, so I thought, let's just lock in, try to get it done. This is how far I've gotten. I've sewn together 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So far, so good. I'm a little bit concerned about raw edges. So over here you can see the edges are still raw, and maybe it was implied that I was supposed to finish them, but it's not written down in the pattern and I didn't think of it earlier, or maybe they don't think it's a problem, but I'm a bit concerned and now I don't know what to do with them. Maybe I'll finish them somehow later. I did finish them here on the inside because I did think of that. That is also not mentioned in the pattern. At this point, I'm gonna need to take a lunch break and a coffee break because I'm really hungry, and sewing while hungry is not a good idea for me. Okie dokie, lunch has been had, energy has been restored. Let's get started on these folds at the front. So it says to make the placket at the front, basically fold one side over the other. It's worded more complicated than that, but I think we can manage. Maybe I'm reading the pattern wrong, which is very possible, but if I'm reading it correctly, then, and I think I mentioned that before, but if I'm reading it correctly, then this part of the seam, this part of the collar would just stay unfinished, and that seemed just really wrong to me. So what I've done is I've folded this under and stitched it on top. Not quite a stitch in the ditch because I've never been able to make that work, but I think it looks pretty neat. There's still a lot to do and I have to stop for the day, but hopefully tomorrow I can actually finish the dress. Okay, today's the day I'm gonna finish the dress. I am determined because it feels like I started this a very long time ago and I really just want to get it done. These weddings are approaching as well. I will need to wear this at some point soon. So while my washing machine was running, I've done the next step, which was attaching the pockets to the skirt on 3 sides, not on all 4 sides. So I've got it here and here, and on one side of the second skirt panel. I'm not sure if I left the correct part blank, but worst case scenario, the zipper is just going to be on the wrong side. In the pattern, they want the zipper to be on the left side. In the end, I think worst case scenario, it's going to be on the right. It doesn't matter to me which side it's on, as long as it all fits. So I wasn't really sure where to put this final pocket piece, but it's here now, so we're just gonna run with it. All right, next step I'm confused about as well. On the front pockets, press seam allowances open, but I don't know which are the front pockets and which is the one back pocket. My problem is this will all be gathered in the end. Can I just decide it, right? If I say this is the back and it gets gathered like this, so this is right back. Okay, we're just gonna go with that and we're gonna say these are the 2 fronts, so we're gonna do whatever it said there. and we'll go from there. Okay, the two skirt panels have been attached together, and there's a full pocket on one side. So in the end, I think it's going to look something like this. It's going to be on this side, and then the side seam is here. It didn't mention to baste the pocket at the top. I think I'm going to do that to just keep it in place. It also, again, the pattern doesn't mention anything about finishing the seams. It does say press seam allowance of skirt open, but it doesn't say to finish it at all. I must assume that this is just a more advanced pattern that assumes that you're going to do that on your own. But then why does it say just press open? I think I would rather hold these together. I don't have an overlocker, so I'm just gonna do this with my machine, attach these together. So I think I'm just gonna do that and not press this open, because I do want this finished. I keep getting confused by this pattern, and I don't think it's the pattern's fault. I think I just like my patterns to be a little bit more hand-holdy. Like, I've made the lane pants by Sydney Graham a couple times, and that pattern is very beginner friendly. It tells you exactly what to do, and there's also a video tutorial. I really wish there was a video tutorial for this. That would have really helped, but I guess that's the next step in sewing. Reading something and understanding what they mean, even if it's not described 100%. I don't know. I'm confused, but I'm hopefully making it work. All right, so I have this extra foot to do like a fake overlock stitch, and I'm just going to use that because, well, actually I think I might trim this first. Do I want to trim this first? Yeah, a little bit. Because if you actually overlock it with a serger, then that trims as well. So I don't have that, but I do have a pair of scissors and a wannabe overlock stitch on my machine, so we'll use what we've got. Now I wish we'd done a French seam on these pockets. Okay, coffee time. And then I gotta put in some gathering stitches, which I've actually never done before, but I've looked up how to do it. And it seems to be just 2 rows of basting stitches, and then you pull either just the top threads or just the bobbin threads. I watched 2 tutorials, one said top, one said bottom, so what I'm getting is just don't pull both. So I'll just try that. There is so much fabric here. I've very clearly never made a dress before. I'm like, oh, there's so much fabric, yeah, duh. But there really is a lot of fabric. I mean, wow. Okay, so guess who's still not done with the dress? Since I last checked in, I did make progress though. I did the gathering stitches. That was a little bit scary, but I did it and it worked out. Yay. I then attached the gathered skirt to the bodice, which was very scary. Unfortunately, in the process of being nervous about doing that, I forgot that I had wanted to make the seam allowance a bit bigger to make the bodice shorter so that the waist ends up where the waist is supposed to be. I forgot to do that. So now the waist of the dress is not where my actual waist is, it's a bit lower. And honestly, I'm a bit disappointed. I could, in theory, I guess, undo that seam, redo the gathering and stitch it back together. But one, I'm a little bit worried about the fabric because it is quite thin and I don't know what ripping out all those stitches will do to it. And 2, I just can't be bothered. I'm just gonna wear it the way it is, even though it's not perfect, and I am a little bit disappointed, but we're learning, it's fine. There is still quite a lot to do. I worked so long on this the other day. It took me 5+ hours to get the dress to where it is now. After I sewed it all together, I did also attach the invisible zipper, and that nearly broke me. Not because of the zipper so much, that wasn't so hot, it's just a zipper. I've done zippers before, not an invisible one, but it's not that different. The hard part was that it goes past the pocket on one side, and I had no idea how to do that. The instructions basically just say, hey, put in the zipper. They say use this seam allowance on the bodice and this other seam allowance on the skirt, but they don't say how to handle the pocket, and it took me so long. But the zipper is in and it works. We do have this little bit of overhang at the top that I will have to figure out what to do with, because I wasn't quite sure where to start the zipper. And I wonder if I can just fold that over and tack it down, maybe. So that's number one of the things I still need to do. Number two is actually attach little clasps to the collar so that I can close it and the dress stays up. At the moment, there's nothing holding it up at the top, so it would just fall down. Number three, attach decorative buttons to the front. And number four, I think we're at 4, hem the skirt. 5, check if I have any unfinished seams left and deal with those. And then 6, I do think I might need to add a little bit of elastic to the back, because at the moment it gapes. And I think if I just put a tiny little elastic into the back between the actual fabric and the facing, that might solve my whole issue. These are the buttons and clasps I got for the collar closure. These closures are of course very important for the functionality of the dress, but I'm almost more excited about the buttons. They're purely decorative and will get attached to the fold on the front bodice, but I think they're going to really look good and sort of finish the look of the whole dress. I sewed everything on by hand and had a really lovely time with it, actually. I was listening to Solari, the new actual play story by Worlds Beyond Number, which I love, and it was very relaxing. Alright, the dress is done. It has happened. I'm holding the mic like one of those cool people. But the dress is done. It fits. The one issue, as you can see, the waist of the dress is here and my actual waist is here. So it would be great if it was a little bit higher, but I can't change it now. It's too late and I'm gonna wear it regardless. I did put in an elastic at the back and it took quite a bit of trial and error to get it to where it made sense, because it was quite a bit too big on the back, but I think with the elastic it works perfectly well, so I'm happy with that. I'm also happy with all the buttons. I sewed them on. That was actually quite relaxing. It has pockets. Where's the pocket? Here and on the other side. And I'm so pleased that I got the zipper to go past the pocket. Incredible. It's a little bit weird up top. I'm not sure the collar fits the way it's supposed to fit, but all in all, I'm still a little bit disappointed about the waist, but I think it's fine. I will wear it. I'm done. This took a long time, but I'm glad I did it. And here it is. My 3 weeks in the making, much more difficult than I thought, dress. It's definitely not perfect, but I am happy with it.